Recording has started.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us this morning for our November Data Reporting Managers Training. We have a lot of information for you this morning, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Okay. We're going to start off this morning just by talking a little bit about the issues that you've been experiencing with Rich. Um, we know that you are frustrated. We feel your frustration. Just know that we are doing. Oh, someone is recording. Someone's not muted. Okay. We feel your frustration. We are doing everything that we possibly can on this side to make sure that you are able to submit your report and submit your report on time. Um, because we're not really certain what's causing the errors or issues within Enrich, we're asking that whenever you do a collection, that you, if you have validation errors, um, information that's missing from your ticket, from your report, please go ahead and submit a ticket to support. Because we are in unprecedented times, we are not certain when they go in to fix things, what other issues it's causing. So it's very important that you document it and CC myself on it. When you include me in on the ticket, I get all of the responses. I am able to see everything that you see as a part of that ticket submission. So that's the importance of keeping me in the loop for that. I am not clearing Enrich from clearing the issues from the tickets until I get confirmation from you, the district, that it's actually resolved and working. What we have seen is that one fix breaks something else. And so we need to know as well as they need to know. So that's the importance of the ticket submission. Now, please, before you submit the tickets, be sure that it is an enriched issue and not something that you're doing within your district that's causing the errors. If you're getting validation errors, that's something that Enrich needs to fix and they need to be aware of. Um, if you entered the wrong date, that's a process, that's an issue within your district, and that's where training is centered around that. By now, because of the issues that we've been having with the child count report, we have extended the pre-checks for indicators 7, 11, and 12. Um, if we've been getting these kind of issues for the child count, I can only imagine what will happen for the next three indicators. So we wanted to have uninterrupted time, focused time, so that you can concentrate on those reports individually and not have to worry about them in connection with your child count report. Okay. For the child count report, I wanted to add this slide in here just to let you know, one, if you are able to collect, we know that there will be some errors. Some of you are getting errors on your report. Mine is not including the errors that you're receiving, but just do collect and download the report. You want to double check for LRE, grade level, and age mismatch. You wanted to double check for DD, students that are DD and 10 years or older. You should not have any blanks under the grade levels, race, ethnicity, ESL, which is now referred to as the multilingual learners. The LRE code should not be blank. Gender and disability should not be blank. In the event that you have a parent or a guardian that is refusing to provide you with the race ethnicity of the child, just send us an email letting us know that, and we'll do a data note with our submission to OSEP. You definitely want to look for duplicates within your district, checking son's ID number and checking the students. Once your reports are submitted to us, we will do a duplicate check across the state. For those duplicates that come up across the state, we will use the child's enrollment date to verify where the child was on the child count date. I did want to talk a little bit about one of the errors that you're receiving on your reports, which is the report type. We did have a discussion with Enrich about it as a field on the report. It was shocking to us here in the office as well that it was coming up as a validation error on the report, in the middle of the report. Based upon what I have been told to correct that, this issue is occurring for those students who maybe at one point was in public school and are no longer in public schools and have gone to maybe a private school setting or adult education. You will need to go to the enrollment screen and add the enrollment date and grade level for the child. We do know, we recognize, and I just found out this morning that thank you to for the district that I spoke with this morning, that gave me some insight as to how to correct it. I want to think it was Barnwell 45, that gave me some insight to the errors that they were experiencing on the report. There are some things happening within Enrich that's outside of our knowledge and control. So we're doing our best to make sure that those things are documented properly. Another error that you guys are experiencing on your report is the case manager. That's new to me. That has never been a conversation that we have had with Enrich. So that's something that our office needs to be aware of as well. The one thing that I do know is new to the report itself. When you do the download within Enrich, the last 4 columns are new to this report. And if you download your report and those 4 fields are blank, first try recollecting the data. If you recollect and it's still blank, you need to submit a ticket to support to correct that. And the plan type was added to this report just to let you as a district know if it's actually an ISP or an IEP, that kind of help guide you as to where to go to look for issues that you might have. The projected outcomes, I added this field to this report because this is the first year in which we will have students leaving high school with a high school credential. This field is a part of the child count report, and we do get requests within our office for planning purposes for counts within the districts of students that are on a high school credential track. So I wanted to just bring highlight to this particular field just to let you know that our office does use that field for data to make decisions for you guys. So you want to be certain that that is a field that is being populated. The official results will be a part of the Table 4 report, but for planning purposes, it does help us to plan. Okay, I added this field in this report, and I'm not done. So there have been some slides added to this presentation since I shared it with you guys on yesterday. But I wanted an opportunity to at least talk about it. For unresolved issues within Enrich, and my slide deck is out of order, so I'm going to go to the next slide. We are granting you guys an additional week extension for this report because we want to make sure that you have an opportunity to review your data before you submit it to our office. And so this extension is granted to the districts, not to Enrich. It is an expectation that Enrich have all of the issues resolved by close of business tomorrow. But come December 3rd in the event that you're still having issues on your report. For students that may need to be added, I'm adding the slide with the information of the students that you will need to send to us. In order for us to add those students into your reports. And for those students that needs to be removed, we just merely need the SUNS ID number of those students, the SUNS ID number or the student ID number within your system, just so that we'll know that that's a student that needs to be removed from the report. If you are going to have to send us a spreadsheet with information in it, we do ask that you send us an email to let us know, because this information will have to be added into ADT, and that's the advanced data transmission. That is a secure location, so you don't have to worry about encrypting anything. You can just add the files there and we will have it instantly. But we need to know that you're placing a file there so that we can go and get it. We're going to do our best to make sure that this information is added into the report prior to you certifying your counts. Okay, and this, just a reminder that we are giving you another week extension for your submissions. So submissions are now due December 3rd versus November 24th. Okay. Now we're going to get into our Table 5 report, and I will start, but then I will turn it over to Yolanda. And Yolanda, you just let me know where you need me to take over and do some talking for you. The purpose of this report is to report children with disabilities that are subject to disciplinary removals. This is a submission by all districts, and it is submitted by an Excel spreadsheet, and it's due the second Friday in July, which is July 8th. And we have this website on there right now, but we may revert to the ADT for your submissions for this report as well. Mark your calendars. We are going to have a live demonstration on how to complete the Table 5 report. But I wanted that to be a separate from this particular meeting. We will actually use a district's downloaded data. Ultimately, what we want to be able to do is use the incident management discipline report to complete this report. We know that your discipline for incident management is typically due the third Thursday in June. To Aveen's office, and Aveen is on the call with us today as well. Thank you for joining, Aveen. And if your data is certified for her submission, there should be no difference in the discipline data that we get from the district. So we're going to work to try to use the Table 5, your incident management data to complete the Table 5 report. But I want to show you guys how and what we're doing to complete that report. Okay. And Yolanda, I'll turn it over to you.
Good morning. The Table 5 has different categories in it. The multiple disciplinary categories, there are 6 of them. The unilateral removals to an interim alternative education setting by school personnel. The interim alternative education setting removals by hearing officer, out of school suspensions, in school suspensions, total disciplinary removals, and expulsions. The information will also be broken down by category by disability, race, ethnicity, gender, and by limited English proficiency. Next slide. And the information for Table 5 is, as Carolyn stated previously, taken from the incident management report. And the You can gain access to this information if you do not already have it by contacting your district power school coordinator or district IT coordinator and having the role of an IT coordinator with the incident management role um, as well. The unilateral removal definitions for dangerous weapon, drug offense, and serious bodily injury are listed here. For the dangerous weapon, it is a weapon, device, or instrument, material, or substance which can be animate or inanimate that is used for causing death or serious bodily harm. It does not include a pocket knife with a blade of less than 2.5 inches. The drug offense is for the use, selling, solicitation of drugs identified in the subsection 21 USC section 812C, and the offenses do not include the use of the possession, sale, or solicitation of alcohol or tobacco. For serious bodily injury, it is when a student could cause serious bodily harm or risk of death, uh, physical pain, or some type of bodily injury to a student. Next slide. Okay. And for the unilateral removals, which will be in the Excel spreadsheet columns 1A and 2, you want to include students with disabilities ages 3 through 21 as of the child count date. And you want to include those who were removed by school personnel in 1A. And you do not want to include students who were removed by the IEP team. And it will be for the removal from their current educational placement setting for not more than 45 days. The IEP team is responsible for determining the interim alternative education settings. And these are for students who were subject to removal by personnel for drugs will be placed in column 1B, for weapons 1C, and for serious bodily injury in column 1D. The removal based on a hearing officer will be placed in the column 2. In these instances, it is when an impartial hearing officer has removed the children with disabilities from their current educational placement setting for not more than 45 days based on that officer's determination. The IEP team will be responsible for determining the interim alternative setting for that student. And you want to exclude students who were removed from their current educational placement as a result by the IEP team. And these are your definitions for your in-school and out-of-school suspensions. For the in-school suspension, it's when a child is temporarily removed and is still under the supervision of school personnel. The out-of-school suspension will take place when a child is temporarily removed from their school setting, and it will either be home or in a behavioral center. And this will include removals in which no IEP services are provided because the removal is 10 days or less, or if the child continues to receive services and is based on his or her IEP. With the out of school and in school suspensions, you want to include the children with disabilities ages 3 through 21 as of the child count, and were either out of school suspensions or expulsions or in school suspensions. The students who were removed by school personnel for drugs, weapons, or serious bodily injury and were not sent to an interim alternative setting should be reported as have been suspended. And you want to include students who are suspended pending an IEP team meeting in which the students' IEP placements are changed. You want to exclude your parentally placed private school students, students who were suspended for less than half a day, and also students who were moved from their current education placement setting as a decision by the IEP team. And to count the days for the students that you're going to be placing in columns 3A, 3B, 4A, and 4B, you want to count the cumulative days, and they should be suspended for at least a half a day. And for those that are totaling 10 days or less, you want to include them in columns 3A and 4A. And for 10 days or more, you want to include them in 3B and 4B. All right, and for your disciplinary removals, this is an instance when a child with a disability is removed from their placement for either in-school or out-of-school suspension, expulsion, or removal by personnel to an interim alternative education setting for drug or weapon offense. It could also include serious bodily injury or removal by a hearing officer. The key data points you want to remember here is that in 5A, you want your total removals. You want the number of incidents and not children. And in 5B, C, and D, you want to include the number of children and not incidents. For the disciplinary removals, you want to include the students. Again, we want to reiterate that it's for the ages 3 through 21 as of the child count date, and we're subject to a disciplinary removal, and they will go in 5A, and exclude students who have been suspended for less than half a day and your parentally placed private school students. And to report the students for the to count the number of days here. Remember, for 5B, C, and D, you want to report the number of children and not the incidents. And the cumulative days are kind of similar to what you've seen before. You do not want to report students that were suspended for less than a half a day. For students that were suspended for a half a day to 1 day, it'll equal to 1 day, and you'll report that in 5B. 5C, you will report suspensions for 2 to 10 days, and 5D, greater than 10 days. And for the expulsions, the expulsion is when an action is taken by the LEA for removing the child from his or her regular school for disciplinary purposes for the remainder of the school year or longer in accordance to the LEA's agency policy. And this will also include removals resulting from the violations of the Gun-Free Schools Act. You want to include students who were expelled from their regular school disciplinary purposes, who are students grades K through 12 without disabilities, and children with disabilities ages 3 through 21 as of the child count date. And these are the only expulsions. This also includes your general education as well as your special education, and you're going to exclude your parentally placed private school students. And when completing the Excel spreadsheet, you'll notice that there are 16 tabs. The directions are on the first tab, which is section A, and it's page, and it will have the information on there on how to complete it. The worksheet is color coordinated, where your blue tabs will include your information for your unilateral removals, which will include pages 1, 5, 9, and 12. The pink tabs will include the information for your out-of-school suspensions and in-school suspensions, pages 3, 7, 10, and 13. The orange tabs are for the disciplinary removals, which are pages 4, 8, 11, and 14. And the purple tab, which is the final tab, is for your expulsions. Pages 2 and 6 are automatically calculated, so you do not have to enter any information in those fields.
And Yolanda, if I may, as a part of the new determinations and profiles, one of the things that they have added to this particular report is to get a count of suspensions by grade level. We do not need to know each grade level. We just need to know the levels, middle school, elementary, middle, and high school, the number of students that you have suspended in each in per district for those levels only. So that is a new reporting requirement that you will have to submit, but you will not have to submit if we're able to pull off completing the Table 5 report using the incident management data that you submit to ABEAM.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry.
And when you're completing the Table 5 report, you want to enter your information in the yellow cells. And the important thing is to make sure that there are no red cells once you've entered all of your data. You want to also keep a copy of the spreadsheet for your records. And Carolyn mentioned earlier that we may have you submit the information via the ADT and not necessarily through the Special Education Services email, but you will be notified as to which way we will accept the report. We also have an example of like the cohort. If you look, you have each of the columns names for the different tabs that you complete in the worksheet. And kind of in the middle, you will see that there is a breakdown of the out of school suspension where we have 25 students, and it's broken down by the disability, the gender, the race, ethnicity, and the ESL. Another important part of completing the spreadsheet is ensuring that you kind of follow the disciplinary removal formula, and each of the columns are, you see like the 5B plus 5C plus 5D should be less than the 1A and the other items in the calculation method, and then it's broken down by what each of the numbers mean and what pages you will find those on. These, when you're out of balance or have a red cell, it's kind of important to be able to populate those numbers in, and it'll kind of guide you into which area you may have your numbers not accurately placed.
Okay. And I want to go on record right here and say that the sums of your removals by children should be less than or equal to the data that you have on the other tabs. So you see 5B plus 5C plus 5D should be less than or equal to all of the sums on 1A, 2, 3A, 3B, 4A, and 4B. I want to go back to this particular slide, just to show the importance of making sure that each of your categories align and match. So in this particular example, we have a total of 25 students, and so we should have 25 students for disability, race, gender, and the MLL for the multilingual learners. So on each of these categories, the number of children should equate to that. When you get to the number of drugs, serious bodily injury, and weapon, they should all total that. I do want to tell you that if when you go to your incident management report and you pull up the code for the alternative school placement, if you don't have any students that were suspended for drugs, weapons, or serious bodily injury, that number should be 0. So you're only reporting the instances in the unilateral removals to an interim alternative education setting by school personnel. That is when the administrator decides that they're going to place the children there, which is different than part 2, which is based on the hearing officer. And if I'm not mistaken, there is a hearing officer code in incident management as well that you should be using to help you fill in and populate the cells within the spreadsheet. When you get to the in-school and out-of-school suspension, there's still, oh, wait a minute. Oh, I went too far. Uh-oh, sorry. Okay, when you get to the in-school and out-of-school suspension, it's still a total of 25 students. And so you should have a total of 25 students for, with this particular one, it's 10 days, 10 days or less. And so in this little diagram at the bottom, you'll see that 12 students were LD, 7 ID, 6 autism, and that total equals 25. When you get to the race ethnicity, you have 10 white, 10 African American, 10 whites, and 5 Hispanic for a total of 25. So if you see the pattern, each category, no matter which of the category it is, whether it's race, ethnicity, ESL, that's what I'm familiar with. I have to get used to multilingual learner, or the primary disability, it's all totaling to 25 students. So you want to make sure that no matter the category, it's still equaling the total 25. So when you get to the out of school suspension and in school suspension, following in sync with what it's asking you for, whether it be in-school suspension less than 10 days or out of school suspension, your number is still going to equal whatever that category totals is. I don't want to confuse you by saying that each of these categories should equal 25. No, each of these categories will have a different number, and that's okay. As long as when you get to the total removals, the totals that you have on the other tabs are less than and equal to what you have on 5B, C, and D, because that's taken into account everything that you have on your sheet. And when you get, if you really want to know if you're moving in the right direction, when you're filling in 5B, C, and D, at a bare minimum, if you should have at least the minimum amount of students on 3A, 3B, 4A, and 4B, because that's in school and out of school suspension. So the at least the minimum or the highest number that you have in these categories should be less than or equal to the total removals, because you've taken into account all of the removals. And when we get to the live demonstration, I'll show you what I mean when I tell you about how those numbers should look and how they should coincide. Okay. Okay, I think I'm back where we're supposed to be. Yolanda?
Thank you, Carolyn. I'm here.
I
I
just
had
want to make
muted
sure that I didn't
myself.
miss. Oh, I missed a couple of slides. Here we go. There we go.
Okay. And the next tab that you would complete would be your expulsions, and it'll be broken down as to whether or not the child is in special education or general education, and whether or not they received or did not receive services during the expulsion. And if you've never done the report before, reporting by cohorts can be used as a guide to determine the total number of students or incidences that need to go in each box. Ensure that your total numbers meet the disciplinary removal formula. And once you know the totals for each category, break it down by the disability, race, ethnicity, gender, and ESL. Then you should be able to populate the spreadsheet. And when you finish, you want to make sure that the LEA's name is on section A of page 1, that there are no missing values. All blanks are populated with a number or a 0. No red cells, no computation discrepancies, and you can provide comments in the last tab on the spreadsheet to let us know of any information you'd like for us to be aware of. On this page, you will see some of the fields that are in PowerSchool, Enrich, and that we kind of match up so that we can get all of the necessary information to populate the Table 5 report. And that
I want to be sure to bring awareness to the EFA Code 2 field in PowerSchool. This is particularly important when you're doing this report by disability, because we know that the speech language is reversed in PowerSchool. So when you're completing the report, if you're going based solely on the EFA primary, that can be a little misleading when you, not a little, it will be misleading when you get to the disability portion of the report, because you'll be reporting a higher number in speech language versus maybe SLD in the instances where those fields are reversed in PowerSchool. I did want to talk to you guys a little bit about some new terminologies that you'll be hearing in the future when it comes to your determinations and the data. Previously, we just had the component of timely submission and accurate, not really having a defined definition to what those terminologies mean. So when you get your determinations in the spring, you'll see some things on there, but I wanted to go over those with you before you saw it. So there's 2 components, and it's weighted based on the data reports that you submit to our office, and that would be Table 8, the child count, Indicator 14, Indicators 7, 11, 12, Indicator 14, I'm missing one, the Table 2 report. Those data that you submit directly to the data team. Indicator 13 will be covered in another portion, not necessarily a part of this piece of the pie, where we get to talking about timely data. And so timely to us will mean the LEA are required to submit all of the files or surveys associated with these 618 data collections to the OSIS by the initial due date. And this will be worth 1 point. And not valid and reliable, the definition to us are required to provide a valid and reliable data that reflects the measurement for each of the SPP indicator. This requirement is a factor in the annual state and local determination processes. So when districts certify that their data in the SPP data collections enrich, they are assuring the state that they understand and agree that their submission of the information constitutes certification that this data is accurate and meets the reporting requirements. And this is worth 1 point. So you get a point for timely and a point for valid, not valid and reliable, or it should say valid and reliable. If your data is not valid, then you lose a point for a half a point for that, because it's a half a point for valid and a half a point for reliability. So you get a total of 1 point there. So in instances when you submit your data to the state, and let's say, for instance, because this actually happened to a district that came back when we were doing the indicators 4, 9, and 10, and they stated that the wrong number was used on their race ethnicity for their Table 5 report. Well, that's in hindsight. If they had caught that error early on, we could have made the corrections, but they waited until after we used the data to make the determinations for indicators 4, 9, and 10. And at that point, it's too late. So they didn't have to do the self-assessment, but then they lost the point for not valid and reliable data. So just wanted to talk to you a little bit about that so that you guys will know when you start hearing these terminologies, what it means and where it's coming from, and the impact that it has on your will have on your data that you submit to our office. Okay. We do use the data from Table 5 to do the calculations for significant discrepancy, which is the 4A and 4B. Some of you, if you were impacted or if you met the threshold, you had to do self-assessments and submit that information back to the program side in our office. So just so that you are aware where we're pulling the information from, when we use information for the discipline report or anything discipline in the SPP APR report for significant disproportionality, indicator 4 for significant discrepancy, we are using lag data. So the data that we will use for this current reporting year, 21-22, will be your 2021 Table 5 report that you submitted to us back in June. Okay. As always, we are doing our best to provide you with resources or information that you could go to help guide you with completing the Table 5 report. We've removed some of the old documents off of the website, so everything out there is new and current for this current reporting year to help assist you in completing this Table 5 report. Okay. Just a couple of reminders that we're going to do the live demonstration to complete the Table 5 report. And so that time is 9:30 to 11:30. We may not need that full time, but we definitely wanted to have time so that you guys so that we can have a full, thorough, interactive session. And this is the workaround just in case we're not able to. We want to proceed as though you would normally proceed in the event that we are not able to get it to work. And if we are able to get it to work, we still want you as the LEA, the district, to be able to complete the report yourselves so that if you need to verify with anyone in your district how we're coming up with the totals, you can do that. Our next monthly meeting will be December 16th at 10 a.m. Using the same meeting link. Just a reminder to those of you who are having to complete the self-assessments for indicators 4, 9, and 10, that it is still due November 24th, and that is submitted via the ADT file submissions. Our pre-checks for indicators 7, 11, and 12 has been postponed to December 17th, and that's to allow you an opportunity to focus on your child count submission and not have to worry about whether or not there are issues with with these 3 indicators. So we're pushing some things back to allow you time to complete those reports. And at this time, Albert, if you can open the floor for anyone that may have questions, or if we have any questions in the chat.
All right, the floor is now open. The participants can now unmute themselves to ask questions.
Good morning. Just quick question. How fast will this presentation, the recorded version, be available for us to review with our teams?
Typically, once this session is ended and we've updated those slides, I would say to give us about a week. That's because we have to send it to another office, and that's a process. We don't know what other presentations they have in queue. So I would safely say to give us about a week to get it back to you guys.
Thank you, Ms. Bostic.
You're welcome.
I have a question, and I put it in the chat box, but I'll just read it. Can you clarify if a child enters school after the child count date, do we include them in that year's table 5? So it's after the child count.
Okay, so the discipline report is a little different. We only look at the child's age as of the child count report. So if you have a student with a disability that has an infraction or an incident after the child count date, they are included in that report. The only thing that goes into account is the age of the child, and the age is reflective as of the child count date. But we don't do anything based on age in the Table 5 report. So you would include that child, yes.
They move in December, we include them as well, correct?
Correct. In the Table 5 report, yes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. I know this is you guys' most favorite report of all the submissions that you have to submit. I know you have some burning questions. Team, do we have any other questions in the chat?
Hey, Carolyn, there are a few other questions about Table 5 and some on the child count.
Sure. One
of the Table 5 questions is the hearing officer in number 2, and I guess that was on one of the slide. Is that referring to a South Carolina Department of Education hearing officer or a local hearing officer used by the districts to conduct disciplinary removals?
That is the hearing officer within the district.
All right. Someone asked, this is related to the child count. Will the certification date for child count be pushed back as a week as well?
We will definitely push the child count certification date back. Remember, you only certify your totals after we, OSIS, have told you what numbers to certify your totals for. So yes, I say that, but as we clear the districts, we will notify them to certify their totals. So there will be a date adjustment. We just don't know what that date is just yet.
Okay. This is another question related to the child count. If a student has been dismissed from special education after the child count date, do you still need to track them on the report?
On the Table 5 report?
I don't know.
Yes, it's the Table 5 report.
Okay, so you say track. So this report should only include students that had a disability at the time of the incident. Currently, PowerSchool does not have a feature or component that tells you that yes, the student had a disability at the time of the incident. So the only thing that we have to go on right now is the instructional setting field. So if the child had a disability at any point during the year, we include them on the report. Is what we're using as a best practice right now.
Okay. Someone stated that December 8th is the same day as the DTC ALT training. Will the live demonstration be recorded and sent out?
Yes.
Okay. I think there are some more questions going on in the chat, but there was one related to indicators 4, 9, and 10. This one specifically for indicator 4B.
Okay.
Do you need the student files loaded into ADT for indicator 4B?
There should be no student files as a part of the self-assessment that I'm aware of. The only thing that you guys should be submitting back to our office or uploaded into ADT is the actual self-assessment document and the Excel spreadsheet. No policies and procedures, none of that.
Okay. And there are some more that popped up in the chat.
Sure.
I guess Colleton wanted to clarify one additional time whether students who are not on the child count should be included on table 5. And basically what you're saying is that if a child has a disability at the time of their removal or whatever, then they would be included in table 5.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Team, do you guys see any others that?
Yes, there is one from, I think it's Kershaw. Is there an RFP out for our state IEP system?
There's conversation centered around that.
All right.
Okay.
And there was a comment, Carolyn, I know you mentioned when you were talking about the IFA primary and secondary, someone stated that speech is not the only area of disability that would not match IFA to IDEA.
That
and
is
so, you
that
know,
is
I guess,
correct.
yeah.
So in any instance where the child's primary disability differs in PowerSchool than what's on the IEP, you would need to use that second IFA category to make sure that you are aligning the disabilities appropriately.
Gotcha.
It's just that speech language is one of the most popular, most common ones.
There's another question that just popped up, Carolyn. It says, just to clarify, we only need to submit the self-assessment document in ADT on the 24th. No policy, procedures, or student records?
Correct. It is the self-assessment document and the Excel spreadsheet is what I understand. Kelvin, is that your understanding of what needs to be submitted for the self-assessments as well?
That is my understanding as well.
Hi, I just prefer to ask a question than type.
Sure.
With regard to the question about removal to the IES by a hearing officer, that's a drastic change. We've always been told that removal to the IES by a hearing officer is the reference to hearing officer. It's under 300.531 in the regulation, where through the expedited due process hearing process, a due process hearing officer removes the student to an IES, not a local hearing officer. I mean, not all districts function the same with the use of hearing officers. So with regards to discipline. So can we get some extra clarification on that? Because that's a huge change.
Okay. Well, I will say this. I have never heard that it was done by the due process hearing. To my knowledge, it has always been the hearing officer within the districts, but let me get clarification on that and I will let everyone know so that we are, when we look at the data in that particular column, we are actually comparing apples to apples. So I will get some clarification on that for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We do have another question that actually just popped up. It says, so for students who have their IFA codes flip-flopped in PowerSchool, we use the primary disability that's listed on the IEP for reporting purposes for Table 5, correct?
That is correct.
Sarah asked, when you refer to the Excel spreadsheet, what spreadsheet is that? And then it ended. So Sarah, if you have additional information you want to state, you may unmute.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
When I received the self-assessment and we've done that, but I'm not sure what Excel spreadsheet you guys are wanting.
Okay, which indicator are you?
We have significant discrepancy discipline.
Okay, so indicator 4.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let me find out. In which district are you again? I'm sorry.
Darlington.
Darlington, okay. Let me find out and I'll let you know, okay?
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Carolyn, this is Aveen.
Sure.
We have some districts that contract out for their hearing officer
Uh-huh.
where it's not employed by the actual school district.
Mm-hmm.
So it's still a hearing officer.
Mm-hmm.
So that may be one of the cases as well, because we do have districts that have a district hearing officer and then they have people that they contract out with.
Okay.
So we want to clarify that if you need me to put it inside the IM guide as well.
Okay. Okay. And in either case, Aveen, there should be someone in the district, or even if they contract out with a hearing officer that is running reports for the district. Do you have any insight as to whether or not they're reporting back to the district, or if someone within the district is tracking that information for them?
Yes, they should have someone. The incident management coordinator for the district should be reporting that and checking that, or their student services director in their district.
Okay.
I think we still have some questions concerning the spreadsheet for indicator 9 and 10.
Okay.
AG is listed as a guest. It says, I think there was only a spreadsheet for indicator 9 and 10. And then Jenny Pitts from Greenwood 51 stated, we also need to know about the spreadsheet for 4B as well.
Okay. Like I said, I will get clarification. I'm just giving a reminder to those reports. We, the data team, are not necessarily the gatekeepers for that, but I will find out and provide clarification to you guys for 4B, 9, and 10. Okay. Not. Does that take care of all the questions in the chat, team? And if we've missed any questions in the chat, we'll definitely circle back and review them just to make sure that we've answered all questions, and any unanswered questions we will send in the summary email back to you guys. If there are no other questions, we thank you for your time and thank you for joining us this morning for the November data reporting meeting. As always, I think by now you guys know all of our email addresses, and if you need us, we are here. Doesn't matter how small you think the problem is, contact us. And if it's an enriched issue, definitely make sure that you are sending those tickets to support and CCing myself on it. Okay. Have a good day.